Moose, and I'm an addict.
Hey, Moose.
What's up, guys? Grateful to be here and grateful to be sober. Joined today by my boy, Kevin, the Recovery Buddha. What's up, Kevin?
Hey, what's happening?
What's going on, Kev?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just chilling.
Right on, right on.
Ready for another podcast.
Yeah, awesome, brother. Always glad you're here. Love you, bro.
Yeah, love you too, man.
Also joined by my lovely wife, Ashley. What's up, Ashley?
What's up?
Say it with your chest, Ashley.
What's up? I don't know how to.
What's up?
I just love to mess with her. Say, what's up? Hi. Anyway, I love you. I'm glad you're
I
here.
love you too.
I just feel better having you in the room.
That makes me feel very good. I like that.
Even
Thank
when
you.
you're
I'm
quiet
honored.
and don't say a lot, I still am just like, it's just good to have you. You laugh at all my jokes too, which I think is important.
A hype girl.
I think Braden's editing some of them in. Like I'll say a joke that isn't funny, but I'll still get a laugh from Ashley.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's really laughing or you just put them in there.
Yeah, Braden's got a laugh track.
Yeah.
Of Ashley.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which is such a good laugh. It like triggers more laughter. So
that's very sweet. Thank you.
yeah, you're
I love
welcome. I love you too.
It's an honor.
And then we're also joined today by someone who's like become a legend in my own mind, at least, Dr. Shiloh here. We're grateful to have you here.
Not sure how to feel about that, but thank you.
So I met Dr. Shiloh. I work for a treatment center, Grand Falls Center for Recovery. Shameless plug.
I was gonna say.
I've never plugged that before on here, but which, by the way, none of my statements are a reflection of my employer. I have to say that if I'm going to mention them. But anyway, I, go out in the community and talk to different people. And so I just stumbled across your office on Google accidentally. I was looking for something else and I saw that. I'm like, oh, that looks like someone I should go talk to. And I went in there and I immediately felt intimidated because you can smell all the essential oils in the air. But I felt like a peace when I walked in. And I go and sit down and you look so professional and polished, and your office is like, I don't know, it's kind of intimidating. I felt like I was being interrogated by the FBI. So I was like really nervous. But I got to know you over, I thought I was going in there for one reason, but I was really coming for something else because you really educated me on a lot of things. And I just thought, man, you're just someone that I've been wanting to get on the podcast for a while. I just appreciate all your wisdom. And just so the people know who we're talking to, can you just give us a little bit about your background, like education, like how you got to where you're at?
I think you came to my office by divine appointment that day.
Yeah, I think so.
Right? So, I'm Dr. Shiloh Werkmeister. I own Integrative Connections Counseling Wellness Center, which is where we met. It's a integrative, collaborative mental health care facility. So we don't just treat mental health, we treat the whole person, because I personally don't believe that when you're having feelings and emotions and big, heavy, stressful thoughts, that it's only happening in your brain. I think it's happening in your whole body. So when somebody has depression, they're going to have physical symptoms of that manifestation of depression, or anxiety, the same thing. So we're going to talk about sleep, and we're going to talk about gut health, and we're going to talk about nervous system and how to reset your vagus nerve and all of that, in addition to having people sit on the couch in my office that apparently feels very intimidating, and, get that type of talk therapy. So we do all of that. We have functional medicine doctors and nutritionists and massage therapists, and we collaborate with all of that. And then we have a bunch of somatic technology tools that are really helpful as well. So things like a Somadome meditation pod and a salt chamber, which is great for inflammation, and a biomat, a Flowpresso, which is a lymphatic drainage massage without actually being touched by a human. Because a lot of people who have addiction or trauma, they don't do well being touched by other people. It's intimidating. You cannot relax and get the benefit of a massage if you don't like being touched. So we have a system to do that without stressing the body further. a vibroacoustic sound bed, which is really great, and a cold plunge and a sauna, all of those tools in addition to people like me. Yeah.
You know, you said something about like it affects your whole body, and I immediately thought, like, you know, your emotional state affects your body. I immediately thought of my kids. Like when they're happy, they smile with their entire bodies.
They do.
And so I mean, just on just looking at nature, you can see that that's the case. You said something about your vagus nerve. What is that?
So the vagus nerve is actually a cluster of nerves that run from your brain into all of your body. It connects all the major organ groups in your body. And it starts like behind the ear and back in the back part of your brain, and then runs down your spinal column. And it's basically one of the main delivery systems for the electrical impulses from the brain to the rest of the body. So if it runs right next to the amygdala, the part of the brain that is where your emotional responses come from, if that amygdala is inflamed, then your vagus nerve is picking up on we're stressed, and your body starts to respond to that impulse. So if your amygdala is inflamed, your vagus nerve is then telling your respiratory system, hey, we're under attack, constrict your airways, makes it get that heavy feeling in the chest where it's hard to breathe. And then it makes your heart rate, hey, lower the heart rate because we don't want you to die. So we're going to like make you feel like maybe you're tired or maybe you want to pass out, that kind of stuff. It also connects to your gut. So, you know, people get anxiety or get super stressed. They have a lot of gut health issues because their vagus nerve is like connected to their digestive tract as well. So it goes through the entire body. So if we can get that part of you to relax, it helps to reset the nervous system and lets your whole body kind of come back to a more centered, balanced state.
What is like, okay, because not everyone's going to be able to go and see you to treat that. Like what is something that is just like simple that you could start doing
at home?
that?
Bilateral stimulation is going to help with that. So you can do that if you're familiar with EMDR. Okay, so that uses bilateral stimulation to look from side to side, right? You don't need the EMDR light bar in order to practice the bilateral stimulation. You can do that simply. One of the easiest ways to do that is walking. Think about the pattern of walking. So if you go for a nice, slow, not super fast, regulated walk for 10 to 20 minutes, that's giving your brain the chance to do that bilateral stimulation, and it will help calm you down. If you can't get out and take a walk, you can just pat your legs and like pat one side, then the other side, and back and forth, things like that. So really, it's about engaging both sides of your brain at the same time. And that's really all it takes. And you don't have to do something fancy or complicated to do that.
Wow.
I've been going for walks like crazy too. Like I've noticed like how much walking is powerful, and it's especially like you said, I walk at my natural pace. Like at first I was like walking like faster. It's like or I'm going to hurry up and get it done. That doesn't do it. It's when I'm walking and I walk at a pace that just feels like a natural, my pace.
Yep.
There's no effort. I'm not efforting the walk.
Right. Because you're already in a stressed out state. So you don't want to go power walking. That's not going to help your brain to relax. That's just going to add to the stress load that your body is in. So by going at just a real relaxed, natural, comfortable pace, that's what your brain actually needs to kind of get back to a more normal speed.
Yeah, like I heard, well, I knew the EMDR, like, because when you're walking, your eyes are going like this.
Yep.
So it's back and forth.
Your whole body's doing it. Your arms are doing it. Your legs are doing it.
And I'm processing. I'm going for the walk and I'm processing. It's almost like I'm not trying to process. I'm allowing
your body to do how it naturally does.
Yeah.
That's good. Wow. That's already...
You're going for walks.
Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta go for a walk.
Well, it's crazy because like I feel the most creative coming in to doing the podcast when I've been walking a lot. Like when we'll go on family walks, we try to go on them every day, but we haven't in a while. And I'm like, man, this is probably way more important than I even gave it credit for, you know?
It is. I tell people, especially people with addictions, because you guys tend to have a dopamine regulation issue in your brain. And then other things that have the same type of dopamine dysregulation are ADHD and autism. And so those three things in particular, I will say you should have no more than 45 minutes of concentrated work without getting up and taking a 10-minute walk. And if you do that, it lets your brain recenter and reset, and you'll be more productive, less stressed out, and actually get way more accomplished in the day without trying to sit and focus and work for 3 hours straight.
Wow. I needed to hear that.
Yeah, you did.
I'm overwhelmingly ADHD. I have a very hard time focusing.
So for someone like you, I always tell people, we all have phones that we carry with us all the time. Use it as a tool. Set an alarm that goes off to tell you, oh, when this alarm goes off, that means I have to get up and go take a 10-minute walk around the block or something. Get up, get a drink of water, that kind of stuff. And then you come back. And then you treat that alarm like it's non-negotiable. It's a doctor's appointment. You can't get out of it.
Wow, that's good. Now, what I was immediately thinking about is while I was using drugs, I did a lot of walking. I walked everywhere. I didn't have a vehicle, so why wasn't I receiving the help of walks?
Yeah. Well, you were using, when people are in addiction, they're trying to self-medicate and cope with the stressors that are going on in their world. And so the walking was probably helpful for you. However, you were in such an elevated state of stress that it wasn't enough. You needed more regulation than just walking.
So that was God's plan for my life. I'm out there walking around getting dope. Little did I know the walk is what saved my life. Right. It kept me from hitting absolute devastation.
I had another question for the doctor too.
Yeah.
So I think it's Chinese. They say Shin, which is mind, but when they talk about Shin, they talk about here. And then there's also, I heard this other, what is it? The stomach brain, or
The second brain.
the second brain, and they're talking about
Your
the
gut,
stomach,
yeah.
your gut, right? What do you think about those kinds of things?
Well, when I was talking about the vagus nerve, that cluster of nerve connections runs through your entire body, and it starts up here and then it goes everywhere. So when people think I'm only going to treat the mind, it doesn't make sense because we are an interconnected system. It's more like, think of your brain like a computer. So your brain is like the CPU unit of the computer, right? It's the tower where all the hard drive and everything is. But you still have a monitor and you still have, the keyboard, and you still have all the other things that are part of that computer. It doesn't work without all of the parts. So I absolutely think our mind and body, it's connected. It can't be treat one and ignore the other. Well, I mean, you can, but it's not going to work as well. You need to trust the whole part of you. So I truly think somebody comes in to see me and says, I've got all these gut health issues. I'm like, okay, so let's talk about your anxiety. Because every single time there is a huge thing in their life that they've been holding on to, and then they've learned to ignore their gut because they think their gut is dysfunctional. Their gut's not dysfunctional. It's communicating. They just didn't understand the language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just we say things like, I get a gut feeling about this, or
Trust it.
or lead with your heart, not your brain, or whatever. It's like, I think there's so many things that are happening at the same time.
It's real. Yeah.
If you're lacking one component, you're probably going to be falling short.
Yeah. So our bodies are hardwired for survival. They're not always truthful, right? So if somebody is like, I've got a gut feeling, that's probably something in their internal wiring is saying, hey, be aware of the environment right now. There's something that could be a problem for you. Their instincts are telling them to have a little more anxiety because there are things that could potentially be a threat to them. If you look back at human history, that would make sense. Like, we used to see a saber-toothed tiger, and if we didn't recognize that that was a threat, we were dead, right? Now, we don't necessarily see a saber-toothed tiger, but we might see a cat on the horizon and think, oh, that's a threat. Your body's communicating that there's a potential threat. Does it mean that there's something that's going to hurt you? Maybe, maybe not. Anxiety isn't always bad. Sometimes it's a warning signal. Sometimes it's your body saying, hey, pay attention. Anxiety kind of gets a bad rap, right? We're supposed to have a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah, you should be afraid to jump out of an
Right.
airplane.
Yeah. It's our body's internal compass telling us, hey, pay attention. It's when that anxiety is taking over to the point where it's preventing us from living our daily life and functioning and being productive. That's when it's become a little maladaptive and you need to seek some help for that.
So in your practice, I want to say this. So you're a licensed counselor too, right?
I'm a licensed professional counselor, yes.
And you're a doctor.
So I have a doctorate in health professional education, meaning I teach medical professionals, I teach doctors all of this to make them better when it comes to their patients. Currently, I'm a professor for Logan University, teaching all the new chiropractors coming out clinical psychology so that they can communicate with their patients, so that they're better listeners, and so that they know how to collaborate with mental health professionals when they have somebody come into the office. That because they're well aware that they can treat the physical part of the body, but a lot of what these people are experiencing isn't physical, it's psychological. So being able to refer and collaborate is important.
So you talk about mind and body, and you hear a lot of people talk about mind, body, spirit. Where does spirit come in terms of like your approach?
So for me, I am a Christian and believe in Jesus. And for me, everything that I say comes from that perspective. Do I only work with Christians? No, I work with everyone. I believe that as a Christian, it's our job to model Christ-like behavior. So the example that they're seeing from me and how I present myself in the world and how I engage with them and how I walk through life is the Christ-like example. It doesn't mean that I'm going to Bible thump them when they come in my office, but all of the things that I recommend come from a very sound scriptural standpoint. I'm not going to recommend things that go against that because that's just not who I am and what I believe. If somebody comes in to see me and let's say they're Hindu, I'm going to say, you need to lean into where your spiritual core is. That's where we get into that heart component of things, like lead with your heart. For that person, I want them to lean into what speaks to them, and my compass is Christ. Did I answer that enough for you?
What if they come in, they're completely removed from any kind of spiritual anything? Do you still is there a way you try to develop that within them?
I ask them, if they're completely without, like, I'm atheist, I don't believe in anything. I'm like, okay, what leads you then? How do you know you're in alignment with the best part of who you're meant to be? And if you don't have that, like, where's your baseline that you start from? And I encourage them to think about that. Like, where does that, this is right, this is wrong compass for them come from?
What have they said? Like, what kind of answers have you gotten?
Oh, all kinds.
What are some of your favorite?
I just do what I think is right, is one that I hear a lot. Or I do what I want, what I like, and I don't worry about anything else. And then then the conversation goes into, well, how's that working out for you? Like, how are your relationships? And most of the time, they have a lot of relationship dysfunction if they're only going about serving themselves in life, if they're not thinking about how they're impacting the people around them.
So have you seen someone that would say they're an atheist that like digs deep and does find a compass without finding anything that you would say would be supernatural? Like, hey, I found an internal compass with Stoicism, Plato. I don't know what.
In my experience, if somebody comes in and says, no, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in anything, no, they're usually searching for something and they haven't found that. Stoicism is interesting because most people say that I'm very stoic and I lean into logic. That's not atheist, Christian. It's just a way of experiencing life and realizing your impact on the world around you and being slower to move or speak until you've really taken time to sit and process. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's a bad thing for anyone.
No, not at all.
Pause. That's one of the things I talk about in my book is like, we need to practice the pause. I teach people to breathe on purpose in certain ways, to slow them down so they don't just word vomit without actually thinking it through. Because that's so many times they say things that just trigger the people around them, and they do it unintentionally. It's just because they need to slow down.
Guilty. It
Well,
says in the
if
Bible,
you have ADHD, absolutely.
it says in the Bible, if you talk long enough, you'll sin against yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it was unfortunate to hear that because I'm like, guilty of that. I talked to this person just long enough to say something I regretted. So what really made me interested in kind of what we had talked about initially was like, I'm in recovery. I went to treatment, but also I went to community college and I studied psychology as deep as you can in community college. I took every course in psychology they had to offer and read. I would nerd out on the DSM because it's really fascinating. Like, there's things that it almost seems like there are things that are trendy to diagnose people with versus the vast amount of things that are possible. Like, everyone's bipolar, everyone's BPD, everyone's narcissistic. And it's like, that's like how do we decide that these are so prevalent versus some of the other ones? But so reading that, I went to treatment the first time and they're like, would you like to meet with the psychiatrist? And I thought, absolutely, I would love to meet with the psychiatrist. Okay, they put me on the schedule. I'm sitting in line to wait. And I thought, I cannot wait to sit down with this person. They're going to blow my mind explaining the intricacies of my brain and addiction and help me understand myself.
And then they didn't.
Yeah. I have had to fill out a paper of like, are you anxious? Yeah. Depressed? Yep. Insomnia? Yep. And I walk in and she doesn't even look at me. She asked for the paper. I hand it to her and she's like, okay, we're going to put you on Prozac and Trazodone. And I was like, what? Why? And she's like, well, you're depressed and anxious and you are not sleeping. And I said, I've been shooting heroin for years. I was fully expecting to be depressed and anxious and not sleep. Like, I'm not surprised by the symptoms I'm having. And she's like, fine, just do it your way then. And
That mean old bat.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not just trying to.
You're talking about.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not just trying to do it my way. Like, I'm like, lady, I have been on drugs since I was 13 years old.
Right.
I want to know who I am without drugs because I don't even know who I am. Like, maybe I do need this stuff, but like, can I figure it out where I'm at? Because I also know that the DSM said that you have to wait until you have been sober for 6 months before you start to build a diagnosis. Mm-hmm. And I also, through working in treatment, know that it's a game that people have to play because they're not going to be able to stay in treatment if you don't say that they have some kind of co-occurring issue. So you're almost forced to treat every addict as if they have a mental health issue and not just addiction behind that. So you're telling me how that is your approach. Like, let's figure out what's going on with you. Like, at some point, maybe you do need this, but let's cross all the other things off the list first. And the other thing I want to say is this lady didn't even know if I know the definition of depression.
Right.
She didn't even know if I know what anxiety is. I might have no clue what those words mean. I thought they applied to my situation. She didn't even ask. She didn't. And then you see the criteria. You didn't even go through the list of criteria to see if I met it. So what are your thoughts on all that? That's a lot.
There's a lot to unpack in that, in everything you just said. First, I'm sorry that you had that experience. I hear it all too often that people have negative encounters with mental health professionals. One of the first things I want to do is like differentiate the types of mental health professionals. So psychiatrists are not counselors. They are not psychologists. They're psychiatrists. And a psychiatrist's job is not to get to know you as a person or counsel you on, hey, let's dig deeper on your family history or your family issues. Their job is to prescribe medication. That's their job. And people get that confused. They think, okay, I'm going to go see this psychiatrist, and this psychiatrist is going to listen to all the things and get to know me, and we're going to spend hours unpacking this. No, you're going to spend 10 to 15 minutes tops. And they're going to run you in and run you out. And the most common thing I see right now is psychiatrists, you go in, you're coming out with 2 to 3 medications straight out the gate. I personally, as an integrative medicine professional, don't buy into that. How are you supposed to know which of those 2 or 3 things is working if you're starting all of them at once? I much prefer an approach where we're going to try one thing. We're going to give it at least a month. We're going to see how you're doing with that one thing. And then if we need to add, we're going to add. Or if we need to take away, we're going to take away. So that's one thing that I see that I find problematic. The second thing is you're right when you say she doesn't even know if my definition of anxiety or depression is the same as hers or meets the criteria. No, she doesn't, and it doesn't really matter. For them to prescribe the medication, she doesn't. You said some things seem really trendy, and I kind of blame that on social media. So on social media right now, we have so many people out there, influencers and other people, just general people using mental health or psychological terms that actually they shouldn't be using. It's one of my pet peeves. Don't use clinical jargon if you don't understand what that actually means. We have people using bipolar as slang. Like if somebody behaves happy one minute and not happy the next, they're like, you're so bipolar. And that's offensive to people who are truly bipolar. And it's offensive to me as somebody who works with them because I'm like, you have no idea the serious struggle for people who have that. Or narcissism. Like that's another really catchy one right now. And it's like, narcissistic personality disorder is an actual thing with specific criteria. And most of the time, if your boyfriend breaks up with you, that doesn't make him narcissistic. Yeah. It means you guys just weren't a good match. Like just because you didn't like the way somebody handled a situation doesn't make them narcissistic. The people who actually meet that criteria are dangerous people, and they're unpleasant for their family and hard to be around and things like that. But we shouldn't be throwing that around as just a general term that we use every day.
Yeah. I have a question about the bipolar piece.
Yeah.
In school, we were watching case studies of people with bipolar. Mm-hmm. And so they would be almost bedridden with depression for weeks. Mm-hmm. And then they would go through this mania where they're like, I figured out how to win the lottery. I know how to game the system. They have like these schemes.
Haven't slept in 5 or 6 days.
Yeah. And then they would go back into the depression. Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't want to medicate because they love the high of the mania so much. And I have rarely ever encountered anyone like that has been diagnosed with bipolar. Is that a sign that they weren't bipolar and they have been misdiagnosed, or does it not need to be that bad to meet the criteria?
There's actually 3 different types of bipolar. There's one that is not quite as severe, but they still have, so most of us have like a wave that we ride, right? We have better days, not better days, but it's not huge spikes, right? Bipolar is marked with huge spikes. So you're not going to see a wave, you're going to see like a mountain of increased energy, and maybe they're going to hang out on top of the mountain for a little while, and then they're going to plummet into a valley, and they're going to stay in that valley for a little while, and then they're maybe going to come back to normal for a short period of time, not really long. It also has cycles where you see this behavior over and over again, and those cycles, depending on the severity of the bipolar, can be 3 months or 3 years. It just depends on what type of bipolar we're dealing with. So it takes a actual hot second for somebody like me to sit down with someone and go, yes, you're meeting the criteria for bipolar, because they might show up and present with anxiety because they're in that manic state. They're like, I haven't slept and I'm so stressed out and I can't stop the spiraling thoughts, right? Or the next time you see them, they might show up and they present with depression. And so it depends on where you're meeting them in that cycle to actually get it. So you need to see them multiple occasions to see the rise and the fall and how long they last in it. It's also helpful sometimes to get support people's feedback or family members who are like, yeah, this happens a lot. We see this over and over again. If the person is not in a manic state, sometimes they can give you that information themselves and say, I've had this off and on all since I was probably 13 or 14. But sometimes they're not as aware of it. And then what you said about them not wanting to be medicated is true. So oftentimes they will go to treatment or therapy, get on some supplements that really work, or get on some medications that really work. But around 80% of the time, people with bipolar go off the medications. And it's not just it's that they want that high and they like the feeling of it. It's that they go, I'm fine now. I don't need the medicine anymore. And so they go off the medicine and then the cycle starts again.
Do you think there's any part of like dealing with the depression piece of bipolar that causes the person, like they start to fluctuate, and so that causes them to start to abandon the things that were helping them? Like, now I'm dipping and now I'm stopping working out. I'm not drinking as much water. I'm not doing the healthy things because of the natural dip that was going to happen anyway.
Right.
And then it sinks them further.
I had someone that I worked with, and he said, I always can tell when I'm headed into a low period because I don't want to brush my teeth. Mm-hmm. Right? He said, that's when I know it's time to get back on my routine and get back to therapy and go back on my things, because that's the indicator. When I start waking up going, I just don't care if I brush my teeth or not, that level of lack of self-care is a really important thing for them to notice.
Could a person who was like extreme, like Tim's kind of talking about, have you seen a person go from that up and down, that totally out of whack, like with the ends of the spectrum where they're at? Can they get to a point where they have a balanced lifestyle without medication necessarily, or limited medication, based on maybe like balanced diet,
Is
exercise?
it possible? Yes.
Yeah. Have you seen it like go from that to just like,
Yeah.
I hate using words like normal or completely like,
Sure.
But where they're regulated.
Yes. So yes, it is possible. I've helped people do just that. There's so much that's going on in their body. So one of the big things is neuroinflammation. So if somebody's coming to see me, we're going to put them on an omega-3 supplement for the brain and to reduce that inflammation. We're going to put them on an anti-inflammatory diet, increased protein, less carbohydrate, avoiding sugar and other things that cause inflammation. we're going to talk about physical exercise, walking, like we're going to set a schedule for it. They have to, in order to reach that without medication, they have to be regimented and dedicated to following this lifestyle to the point where they know if I stop doing this, I'm going back into that pattern, and I don't want to go back into that pattern because I don't like who I am in that pattern. So it has to have cost them enough that the cost benefit is big for them, that they're willing to do what's necessary and stay committed to it.
They got to really want it.
They do.
See, that's we're gonna say something.
I just have so many questions and I don't even know what they are. But
Bring 'em
my main thing is like, is something wrong with the vagus nerve if they're experiencing that? Or are you doing something to injure it if exercise and diet alone are going to regulate it?
So there's likely not something wrong with the vagus nerve unless there's been a injury to that area of the body. But it's more your lifestyle is causing repeated stressors over and over and over again that are triggering it. So the brain doesn't know the difference between physical pain and psychological pain. Wow. If we put you in a brain scan, an fMRI with like some dye to light up the brain to show us which part of your brain is activated, and we hit you in the knee with a hammer, a certain part of your brain's going to light up. This is pain, right? Mm-hmm. If we tell you your dog just got ran over by a car, that same part of your brain is going to light up. Your brain doesn't know the difference. Pain is pain. So stress is stress. And so I think that's the thing, is that people sort of downgrade the mental exhaustion, the mental fatigue, the stress, the pain of emotional upset, and think it's not as important. But your brain doesn't know the difference, and then it's sending an impulse to the body to react like you're in pain. So when you're in pain, let's say you stub your toe on your bed frame. What do?
Cuss.
You cuss. And
I'm like, tighten.
And you tighten your whole body and you like jump around.
Oh.
Oh, wow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We've got studies that prove if you actually are able to logically recognize, oh, I just stubbed my toe, it's not life altering, and you go, it's okay, it's not that bad, I just stubbed my toe, you actually stop feeling pain almost instantly.
Wow.
Right? It's so funny the way our brains work, and most people don't understand that. So what you think and what you focus on is what you produce. It's what you feel. So if I think about, I'm so stressed and I'm in so much pain, then I'm going to see everything through a filter where I'm so stressed and everything is triggering to me. If I think about, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm regulated and I'm calm, then everything is going to be seen through a filter of you're calm and nothing is going to harm you in that way. It's fascinating.
That is very interesting. It makes me think of like forgiveness. We know like in recovery, we can't hold on to resentments. Like that's going to drive us to drink. And like if I'm holding on to resentment, I'm refeeling past trauma. And I don't know.
So a lot of addiction work is about detaching, right? So you can forgive it and then you don't have to feel it and carry it with you anymore, right? I actually teach people how to detach on purpose. And it sounds like it's such a like hard or cold thing. Being unbothered and being detached is not cold. It's self-preservation so that you can show up in the best form of you for everyone around you. When you're constantly trying to avoid being triggered all the time, you walk around and you're a bundle of nerves and you cannot show up and be present and be helpful and be kind and really serve the people that you're meant to serve. But if you show up and you're like, we're good, nothing's coming at me, we're okay.
But not in a fake way, but like in a realizing like my toe's not going to fall off because I stubbed it.
Like you can't avoid being triggered. We're all going to get triggered at different times. It's about recognizing what that trigger actually is, recognizing what that button is that is being pushed, and then realizing which part of you is still needing some work needing to heal in order to not be triggered the next time that button gets pushed.
Man, this is so fascinating to me. This is like really good stuff. So, okay, you said your body, like stress, I don't even know where I was going with that, but let me just say this. What do you think about this? So like me, I'm in seminary. I have a wife and 5 kids. I run 2 men sober living houses. We've started a church in our living room. I'm doing this podcast. I also have a normal full-time regular job. And sometimes I'm not even doing all the things for this, and I'm like overwhelmed with stress. It's just like knowing that these things exist is enough. What would you, like, almost like free therapy question, what would you tell someone that has all that besides giving it all up? What would you tell them to do to like mitigate the effect of that like weight mentally?
So it's okay for you to have all those things because they're good and they're serving you, but they're also serving a greater purpose. It's about understanding if you're going to do those things and do them well, you have to take care of yourself on purpose with intention so that you can show up and do those things. So when you listed off all those things, I'll give you me as an example. So yes, I have a clinical practice and I run the clinical practice with all the people underneath me. I founded and ran a nonprofit youth homeless shelter for 5.5 years. I am a mother of 5 and a grandmother to 3. I teach at 2 different universities. I'm a keynote speaker and an author with 4 books. I think I got them all. I might have missed something in there.
You might have beat me. Maybe we're tied. I don't know.
Right.
I think you got me. We'll just give you
So how do I do all those things? Well, it's because I intentionally set my schedule in a way where I think it's super important to put it on paper. Like if it's not on paper, it's not real. Your brain needs to actually have it written down. So I set my schedule in a way where I need slower mornings. It's an example for me. Like that's the worst time of day for me when I wake up. Okay, I didn't share this part yet, but my backstory of how I got started in this whole profession is I didn't choose this career straight out the gate. I was a banker, and then I had a brain tumor, and I lost the ability to do math. You can't do banking if you can't do math.
You could try.
Right? Didn't work out very well. And so I had a choice of I need to redirect. And for me, I had a great support network who were there to help me as I tried to learn new things and do new things. Went back to school later and got a new degree in behavioral science and then counseling and then the doctorate, right? So all that happened after, post-brain tumor. All that to say, I have actually had 2 brain tumors, breast cancer twice, a stroke, and I had an aneurysm a year ago.
Wow.
And I'm still able to do all the things. So what all that taught me is that self-care isn't selfish. It's a necessity. If I want to show up for my kids and for my career and for all the things, I have to take care of myself in a way that my body is telling me to take care of myself. So when I wake up in the morning, I have a lot of intracranial pressure, and it takes at least an hour for that to drain out. Right. So I love slow mornings where I may not get to the office till about 10. So I'll still get up at 5 a.m., but I get a lot of time for that to process and drain out, and I don't have to feel rushed. So I have set my schedule in a way where all but 1 day a week, I have a slow morning. I don't have to rush out the door. So that's important for me. That doesn't mean that's for everyone. The other thing is I eat very regimented. So I have celiac disease because I had all the chemo and everything like that. So I am gluten-free. I am 80% dairy-free because it causes a lot of inflammation. I don't eat a lot of sugar. I eat a lot of meat. I eat a lot of protein. And I do not veer from that diet. Ever. It's not optional for me because
Like zero.
The second I eat something that goes against that, I am going to feel so bad the next day. I've got intense brain fog. I have headaches, and I am not showing up well. So I know from trial and error, if I do that, it's not going to work out well for me or anyone else. So I refuse to do it. If I know that it goes against what I need to do to be the best version of me, I don't allow it in my space.
Is the dairy that you are doing, is it butter?
I do butter, yeah.
What ghee?
I mean, I'm not against it, but I just prefer grass-fed butter. Yeah.
Something I noticed that we struggle with, maybe because we're addicts, is like we don't eat wheat. We really try not to, is what I should say.
Well, you had a lot of gastrointestinal inflammation and neurological inflammation because of the addiction. I recommend that you avoid gluten and dairy and sugar and corn. Those are the sneaky ones.
Wheat doesn't go quietly either. When you
No.
stop eating wheat, I mean, I've done that. You know,
Yeah.
you go through withdrawal,
Yeah.
you have
Withdrawals.
headaches,
Yeah.
and cravings,
Yes.
and loss of sleep,
Absolutely.
You feel depressed, you feel down. I'm on a carnivore diet.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, I'm doing strictly nothing but meat
Straight carnivore, yeah.
with a little bit of, the
Butter.
butter. Yeah, that's the only dairy
Yeah.
I'm really doing is butter.
I really lean into an animal-based diet. So I do a lot of meat, a lot of eggs, butter. If I'm out somewhere at like a restaurant and they bring me a salad and it has cheese on it, I'm not going to send it back because it has cheese on it. But I don't do it at home. And then I am no gluten at all. Haven't for 17 years. But for me, it's not.
Yeah.
I just feel bad. It's like I get
you're celiac, yeah.
serious like issues with it. I'll break out in a full body rash and have like intestinal bleeding. So it's bad.
And I would think based on, just my experience with wheat
Yeah.
is, I might not be celiac, but maybe that's because my body's putting up such a good defense
Yes.
against it when I'm eating it. But I can definitely feel it if I quit eating wheat for a little while and then I eat wheat, which I've done. I've done I can't think of elimination diets. I've
Right.
done that kind of stuff. And then you bring wheat back, and
You can feel it.
15 minutes later,
Yeah.
all my joints feel like they're on fire.
Mm-hmm.
My head, I start to feel hot. I start sweating a little bit.
Brain fog.
Brain
Yeah.
fog. And then hour later, I'm like, what if there's any more of those donuts?
Yeah.
That's what I was
or
gonna
whatever
say.
it
Because
was.
it's feeding that dopamine in the brain.
I'm the
man.
exact same way. Like it is, and what's crazy, a lot of people don't know this, is that wheat produces gluteomorphins, which is like the root of it's gluten and morphine.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where they know that Vivitrol will actually help as a diet medication because it's kicking all the
Yeah.
the gluteomorphins out of your opioid receptors.
Yep.
And then even cheese has casomorphins, which is casein and morphine.
Yep.
And so it's like, I give myself a lot more grace with cheese, but like I relate to what Kevin said. If I eat breaded stuff,
You feel it.
and it like the worse it is, the more I feel like Costco pizza. I'm feeling a
different.
Costco pizza. But like Five Guys,
Yeah.
there's like a very short ingredient list on their buns and they add more eggs. Five Guys doesn't seem to have the come down that Costco pizza does. Costco is
It's because they have more eggs. The protein is balancing it.
that makes sense.
It started with Wheat Belly. Wheat Belly, the book Wheat Belly, and then later on Grain Brain. Both of those books were really good. I can't think of his name, the guy who did Wheat Belly.
Yeah, you
But
showed me that.
yeah, good book. It
Yeah.
started there where I started, messing with my diet a lot more and seeing what works for me and what doesn't.
I
work for
challenge
me.
people. I'm like, hey, try this for 3 weeks. Let's see how you feel. And then I really, in that 3-week time, I'm focusing on, hey, pay attention to how you feel in your body. Do your joints feel better? Are you sleeping better? Is your digestive tract better? What's your brain fog like? Do you have less headaches? And then if they want to go back and try it again, I'm like, okay, so how do you feel now? And inevitably, I've not had anybody who's like, I feel better
Yeah.
on wheat than off.
Yeah. William Davis, that's who, Dr. William Davis, that's who wrote Wheat Belly. I don't know.
Yeah, people think it's trendy to give up wheat, and it's like, no, man,
No.
just give it, like, the first time I got her to come off of wheat, she was like, I will never eat that stuff again, because you literally feel the wheat draws.
But then I go back to it.
Yeah.
Like, what's wrong with me?
Well, it's because it promotes that dopamine in the brain, so it is feeding that addiction. But it's about inflammation, right? So every stressor that we have in our body, whether it's an environmental stressor or a mental stressor or a toxin from the world that we live in, is promoting inflammation. That's where, mental health issues are coming from. That's where autoimmune disorders are coming from. And a lot of times people with addictions are feeling those effects and then trying to self-medicate, and that's what's leading into the addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I would, it's deceiving, like vegetables and everything. They look great. I mean, they're colorful. They look like they're really good for you. You go to the grocery store and it's abundant, but they're full of they've all been genetically altered.
Yeah.
Apples don't look like apples.
Yeah.
Watermelons don't look like watermelons. Bananas don't look like bananas. And none of these things are the same thing that they were originally.
50 years
they're
ago,
completely
right?
different.
Yeah.
Completely different. And it's like eating plastic. I'm eating a bunch of plastic. And
Yeah.
they have like, they're genetically modified to yield better.
Yep.
So that's keeping the natural organisms from interacting with them,
Yeah.
which is another pesticides and all. And I'm eating all this stuff, right?
Yep.
All these other things.
It's delicious.
Well, and then I'm feeding it to my kids, too.
And my body, I think, we were talking, I guess I'm on my rant here, but like the stomach, I think the stomach brain or the stomach
We call
mind,
it the gut-brain axis.
I think there's a code. See, and I think it recognizes the code. There's a genetic code. When I eat a tomato, my stomach says, "Oh, it reads the code and it says, "Oh, this is a tomato." And it digests it. But the vegetables that are going in me today, they're unrecognizable. My stomach's like, what the hell is this? And instead of digesting it, says,
It's
I
attacking
think we've
it.
been poisoned.
Yeah.
So it creates a bunch of stuff to fight the poison off, which causes the rest of my body to have to deal with the effects of it.
There's a lot of research on that. There's a lot of insight if you really dig into the literature on blood types and how our diet should be different based on the blood type that we have, because our genetic ancestors came from different parts of the world. And so our DNA and our cells require different fuel.
Yeah, there's so much. So, I started looking at diet, and I think it's really important. I don't think enough people take the time to figure out what works for them, because, some of those things probably work for somebody, but for me, I've eliminated enough stuff and played with enough things. I've kind of come to a conclusion on the things that work good for me and the things that don't. So I'm able to, watch my diet a little closer.
One of the reasons I became a doctor of health professions education is because I realized our traditional system, our doctors are not being taught this type of information. And it frustrated me and it bothered me. They don't know what they don't know because it's not being taught to them. So I wanted to be able to present them with some of this information about diet and exercise.
Yeah. See, and I really feel blessed. I really feel like it was divine intervention, for lack of a better word, the Holy Spirit. At about 2.5 years sober, I had overwhelming anxiety. I was working in a treatment center, and I barely wanted to go do group therapy because of how anxious I felt. So I called my work's EAP program, and I'm like, I want to meet with a counselor, but I want to meet with someone that's not going to try to put me on medication.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
So they're like, yeah, we got the perfect guy for you. So I go in and meet him, and I get there and he's like, so Tim, they told me you don't want to be on medication, but anxiety has a way of spiraling out of control, and I really think you need to get on medication. And I'm like, you don't even know me. And you don't even know if I know what that word means. Like, once again, you don't even know if I understand what that is. And we didn't even go through diagnostic criteria. You just immediately, in a therapy session, started trying to push me towards that.
Yeah.
And I never met with him again. And I didn't do this to try to combat the anxiety, but I was just like, what's the biggest problem in my life? I'm like, I feel very insecure about how I look. I'm like, okay, well, I know a guy who lost a bunch of weight. Hey, what'd you do? Oh, I downloaded MyFitnessPal and started logging everything I eat. And so this is how I am with every diet. What can I eat like an unlimited amount of?
Eggs.
So that was one thing. Like, wow, if I eat 5 eggs for breakfast, I'm in good shape the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Chicken breast. Lots of chicken breast. So I'm eating tons of eggs and chicken, and I'm losing weight like crazy. And I'm drinking lots of water because you're using up a lot of your calories to drink them. So I'm drinking lots of water and black coffee, lots of chicken and eggs and fish. And then, what do you know, all of a sudden, I'm like, wait, I don't have the anxiety anymore.
Yep.
Oh, I started working out a lot too. I'm like, the anxiety's just gone. It just disappeared. And I am not on. And so like, even now when I start to feel a lot of anxiety, my first question is, what's my diet been like? What is my exercise routine like? And so I feel fortunate that I guess maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist at heart. I just question everything. Like, why are you trying to put me on this despite not knowing me? You don't know me.
Yeah, they didn't ask the key questions like, what are you doing in a 24-hour period? What do you do?
Yeah.
You know, how much sleep do you get? And then the second question is, what are you eating?
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's concerning is that, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
That like we're vulnerable, like addicts are vulnerable. They come in not winning, you know, and like not everybody is knowing that. Like if they would have put me on something, I would have been like, yeah, sure, you know, because I don't have the strength or the willpower coming off of drugs to advocate for myself. Like I'm living crazy.
Well, you're following the person who's supposed to be an authority.
That's it.
And they're saying this is what you need to do, and you're like, okay, because you're the doctor, I'm going
Yeah,
to
you
do
should
what
be
you
able
say.
to trust that person.
Yeah, there are states of. We have a lot of studies that have been done over the years that show people follow the person that they believe is an authority, whether it's actually beneficial for them or not. That's a whole rabbit hole that we could go down. But when it comes to you and finding somebody who's not going to jump to that prescription straight out the gate, I think that's really important that people know there is that option. You do have to look for it. You have to find people who have an integrative approach or a functional approach. But if you come to me and your intake paperwork, my intake paperwork includes a whole wellness assessment where I ask questions about how's your sleep, how's your exercise, what level are you at with this? And we talk about all of that. How much physical movement are you getting during the day? All of that. That's in their very first intake form before they ever even come in the office. So I have a full picture of what's going on in their whole body. And we talk about all of those things rather than we're jumping to, hey, let's put you on this pill. And then if I am going to jump to put them on something, it's going to be, let's start with the most non-invasive approach first. So we're going to talk about diet. We're going to talk about exercise. We're going to talk about supplements. We're going to talk about essential oils, because I think they're underrated and underused. And we're going to try all of those approaches first before we jump to, let's talk about pharmaceutical intervention. Not that it's not useful, but it's like, hey, we have so many things we can try before we get there. Let's not jump to that first.
Yeah, it's like the default when it should be 7 other things down the road. Then, okay, well, it looks like this might be what we have to do.
And for me, this was all stuff that I learned because of what I went through, because the traditional medicine route did me wrong in so many ways. And yes, like neurosurgery saved my life, but at a certain point I came out of it and there was only so much that they could do for me recovery-wise to get me back to a functional state. I was still in tremendous amounts of pain and not really functional. I had to learn all of this because nobody was available to help me get there. So all of the things that I have at my office are things that I've used to actually be better and whole and have less inflammation and be able to function on a daily basis.
Yeah, and that's probably what makes you amazing. Yeah, that's great because you're also a client. It's
Absolutely.
like, right?
I've been through the
Yeah.
grinder, you know, and so you can have empathy and you can meet people where they're at because you've gone through it.
So one thing that I feel like I've noticed working in recovery is that people do not want to take personal responsibility. And so when you tell an addict, hey, you're psychotic, they're almost relieved. Oh, thank God. There's nothing I need to do. I just need to be put on, I'm unmedicated and
not my
psychotic. This is the issue. Well,
Yeah.
can't you see, Mom? It wasn't my fault all along. Poor me, I'm bipolar, it turns out. And there's like a relief that comes with not really needing to do anything except take some pills.
Yeah, this is another area where I'm different than most mental health professionals. Also in my intake paperwork, when people are first coming in to see me, there's a little paragraph there that says, I am not going to tell you what your diagnosis is unless I think it is beneficial for you to know. If it's going to help you in your growth and development, I will tell you. But for the most part, their diagnosis isn't for them. It's for me to help develop a treatment plan. I don't believe in smacking labels on people because it becomes a crutch, right? It's not my fault I have ADHD. It's not my fault I have bipolar. And then they don't want to do the work. So I am not going to say, okay, well, hey, it's been nice to meet you. Here's what I think it is. And I'm going to give them that label unless they directly ask me for it. If they directly ask me, I'll tell them. Or if I think it's going to help them to know. So if I have somebody who is absolutely panicked because they know something's wrong with them, but they don't know what it is, and it is like driving them absolutely crazy, and I think it'll help them to know, listen, this is what I see is going on with you. We have a plan on how we're going to approach this. Then I will tell them, right? So somebody who it might be beneficial for would be, I work with a lot of people with autism. So autistic people are going to struggle in school. They're going to struggle in relationships. They kind of have this internal feeling of, I know I'm not like everybody else. It is helpful for them to know, hey, this is what I see is happening with you. Here are some coping strategies that we can use. We can work with your school and make some of these changes. And then suddenly you can see the weight just go, oh, I feel so much better because I knew something wasn't right, but I didn't know what it was. But I still make it their job to do the work, to put the accommodations in place, to use the coping strategies. That doesn't give them permission to just go, it's not my fault I'm autistic. That's not how it works. No. And I think a lot of mental health professionals have kind of fallen into that trap where they sit there with their little notepad and go, tell me more about that. I'm sorry, that feels so bad for you. But they don't offer really directive support. I'm a little different in that sense too. I call people out and I'm like, no, here's your homework. I want you to do this, this, and this, and we're going to talk about that the next time you come in. And I give them strategies that are hands-on that they have to do if they really want to see their life get better. If they come in and they haven't done that, I'm like, do you want to get better or do you want to stay the same? And tell me why, right? If you want to stay the same, fine. But tell me why it's serving you to stay the same.
I think a weighted opinion, and I think opinions about people can make things harder for people. If enough people don't think you're going to make it, I think it's already incorporating like some bad mojo into the situation. Like maybe it's already lending to the struggle. Like, and I think a weighted opinion, like a doctor's opinion that you're not going to do well, that's something that's probably very hard for someone to overcome. So when someone's labeling you with diagnosis and this, I think they're putting you in boxes that are tough to get out of.
Yeah.
I mean, it could turn the other way where maybe that became someone's motivation to get out of the box. They're not going to label me.
Right.
But I think most people, especially if it came from a doctor or someone, like you said, in a lab coat, right?
Right.
Like those studies.
Like the Milgram studies.
Milgram, I mean, you just put a lab coat on somebody and they believe everything that person says.
That's so funny because I actually had a jacket on when I left the house this morning, and my daughter, she's 17, she goes, "Mom, you can't wear that." And I said, "Why?" And she goes, "It looks like you're wearing a lab coat." And I'm like, "Okay, thank you."
But I think if some important people are telling me that I'm in this box, it's going to be harder for me to get out of it because I'm going to believe them.
Well,
I'm going to believe that.
Thoughts and ideas are contagious.
Yeah, other people around me are going to believe that too. My family, friends.
So, thoughts and ideas are contagious and they spread like a virus. Thoughts and ideas aren't actually facts, right? They can lie to you. And so a lot of times people buy into other people's thoughts or other people's perspectives, and they don't have factual data to back that up. Like, you got to recognize your thoughts, your ideas, your feelings. They can lie to you.
Mm-hmm. I have a thought. We're about out of time.
I was gonna say, it's a lie, actually.
Yeah, it actually is a fact. It's based in reality.
You have to come back on again.
So that was so good. Yeah.
I have a couple closing questions. One, do you miss tacos?
I can have tacos if I have a corn tortilla and not a flour-based tortilla. I don't have them often because I don't eat a lot of corn. But occasionally I'll have that. Yeah.
Okay, because I love tacos. That's the hardest thing to imagine giving
But
up.
if I have that and I eat the corn, then I'm gonna make sure I'm taking some digestive enzymes to help me break down the corn, because I know my body, my intestinal tract cannot break it down.
And then, is there any restaurant you will go out to eat at?
That I will?
Mm-hmm.
In Troy, where I live, there's Woods Fort, and they are based out of a country club. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it. I go there, and it's because my parents own it. And so that's how they show me that they love me, is because there's gluten-free options and like a gluten-free designated fryer and that kind of stuff. So in my family, they didn't say I love you, but they're going to make sure I get fed.
No seed oil?
No, it's good. It's clean.
So I could go there and
you'll be good.
Okay.
Yeah. We found our new favorite restaurant.
Yeah, they owe us now. They owe us some money for advertising. No, this is all set up for them.
We're just trying to get a free meal.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really cool.
I have one question too that kind of ties it all up. What is the name? You said you wrote 4 books.
Yes.
What are the names of those, and where can we find those?
Okay, so my first book was called Conversational Boundaries, and it was like when you get in those tricky conversations and you say yes to things you don't want to say yes to, and you don't know how to get out of it, and you feel so much pressure, and then your prefrontal cortex stops working because you're stressed out. I give you scripts on what to say. I call them pocket phrases that you can just pull out in that moment that will get you out of it.
I'm going to need that.
She gave it to us.
I gave you one when you came to the office. That one also had a journal that helps work through boundaries and like explore maybe some areas that you're strong in, maybe some areas you're weak in. That is a companion for that. Then I wrote a children's book about helping kids. See, we don't grow up with like emotional dialogue. We don't have that emotional intelligence. So kids, if they come in and they say they've got a stomach ache, is it that they are sick or is it that they have anxiety? And helping them recognize what's happening in their body and be able to put feelings to it.
Did you give us that one too?
I think so.
I think I remember
Yeah.
this one more.
It's called Emotion Explorers. I actually wrote it when my grandson was like 4, and it was for him. And then I just decided to share it with the world. And then my newest book is called The Unbothered Button. I'm really excited about it. It is about detachment, healthy detachment, because so many people get boundaries wrong. They think boundaries are walls, and boundaries are not walls. Boundaries are like the gate on a drawbridge that control the flow of how people get access to you. Decide who gets in, who gets out, and at what speed. And so that book kind of explores that more, and how to stop reacting when people are pushing your buttons. Just because somebody else is having a moment of chaos does not mean that we have to buy into it. And so that's what that book is. I'm excited about it. It's been #1 in 2 categories on Amazon since its release. It's only been out just over a week.
Wow. Congratulations
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah,
I'm super
congratulations.
excited.
Thank you.
Yeah. So one last thing, I'll let you kind of close with this because this is mostly geared towards people in recovery and especially people who might be a little newer. What would you say to someone who's really like going through it emotionally in the recovery? Like, what kind of tools could you give them to kind of work through that? Just most minimal effort, maximum effect kind of stuff. That's
The
really
first
gonna...
thing I would say is slow down. Slow down. You don't have to eat the elephant all at once. Slow down long enough to recognize what it is you're actually feeling or what it is you're actually trying to solve. Then ask yourself, can I solve this on my own or do I need somebody to help me with it? It doesn't mean I can't get through it. It means I need help to get through it. And everybody has that. They just have it in different areas of their life. Go for a walk. Reach out to people. If you don't get the response you're looking for the first time you reach out to someone, reach out to someone else. It doesn't mean that that person isn't going to help you. It means they may not have the emotional bandwidth to serve you in that moment. So don't just stop at one. Develop a whole network of people that are going to help you. And then stay connected to things like this, like podcasts that are going to help and support and uplift you. Read your Bible. Read all the books you can read. Be an avid learner. Be a lifelong learner. Those are the things I would say.
That's good stuff. And you know what? That is exactly what we would say in the 12 steps. Like a lot of that is some 12-step wisdom just kind of framed a little bit differently. Like you gotta get a sponsor. You gotta ask for help. You gotta build your network.
Be teachable.
Yep.
Remain
You gotta be teachable. Well, that's all for today. We're very grateful that you came and hung out with us.
Thank you for having me.
Really want to have you back sometime. I could sit here all day and just fire questions.
I'm like, I just want to learn from you.
And you know, if you're hearing this and you're on a bunch of psych meds and you've been diagnosed, please do not think that we are against you or that we're out to hurt you or anything like that. This is perspective, and especially if you don't stop taking your psych meds is what I want to say. That will, like, if you just stop taking your psych meds, it will not be good. It'll be way worse than whatever.
Don't do it without somebody who's really, really skilled to walk you through that withdrawal. Do not try and do it alone.
Yeah. We are not trying to, at least me, I'm not trying to say anything that's going to cause you harm. I hate that people like myself that are addicts are treated like we're mentally insane and unable to live life without saying the first thing we need is a bunch of chemical interventions. So that's what I really love about Dr. Shiloh. So glad you all listened this week. If you got stories, you got feedback, you want to yell at me for Dr. Shiloh's opinions or the stuff that she knows, send an email, timothy@dankrecovery.com. Follow us on Instagram at Dank Recovery. Like, subscribe, share on YouTube, Spotify. Apple Podcasts won't accept us currently. We're working on that. I don't know what. Come on, Apple.
Coming soon.
Yeah. But as always, happy birthday to all the birthdays. Actually, Ashley just celebrated 11 years yesterday of sobriety.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice.
I don't know when this podcast will come out, but happy birthday
Thank
to the
you.
birthdays. And welcome to all the newcomers. Thanks for listening. That's all I got.